Watch your step.
Place gives me the creeps.
Keep moving. Eyes front.
When inmate Malik Dumri was transferred to Blackwater Penitentiary, he thought it was just another maximum security prison with its own set of rules, its own gangs, and its own corrupt guards. He was wrong. From the moment the transport van doors opened, something felt off. Blackwater didn't buzz with noise like other prisons. It hummed, a low vibration you felt in your chest more than your ears. It was as if the walls themselves were alive. As if the whole prison inhaled and exhaled slowly, deliberately, patiently. Malik stepped onto the cracked concrete, breathing in air that tasted faintly metallic. A guard shoved him forward. No stalling. You're late. Inside the intake hallway, the lights flickered with a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. When Malik looked up, he noticed the bulbs were brand new. But the fixtures holding them were ancient. Old stone. Old metal. Old something. Moisture dripped down the walls. The floor smelled faintly of mold mixed with something Malik couldn't identify. A man beside him whispered, "Welcome to Blackwater. Don't stare too long. It stares back." Malik laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But no one else laughed. Blocks 1 through 6 looked normal enough. Small cells, peeling paint, dull-eyed guards watching everything with practiced boredom. But then Malik was marched down a long corridor that angled sharply downward. At the end of the hallway was a sign, Block 7, Non-Standard Population. Malik frowned. Non-standard? What does that mean? The guard didn't answer. He just unlocked the heavy metal door and pushed Malik inside. Block 7 was different. The ceiling was lower. The lights were dimmer. The air was colder, and thicker, somehow. Cells were arranged around a central feeding area with long metal tables that hadn't been cleaned in years. A smell lingered, not rotten, not sour, but deeply unsettling. Like warm plastic mixed with wet concrete. Malik felt it in his lungs. 3 inmates looked up as Malik entered. None spoke. Their eyes were sunken, their bodies thin, but not starved, as if the life had been drained out of them, not the nutrients. An older inmate in the corner finally said, "You're new. Don't worry. You won't eat the first night. It will decide for you." It? Malik repeated. The man closed his eyes. "You'll see." Dinner came with no warning. No announcements. No clanging of trays. Just silence. Then the door at the far end of Block 7 opened, and a guard wheeled in a black cart. Not metal. Not wood. Something else. Something smooth and matte that didn't reflect the overhead lights. The guard placed trays on the tables, gently, like handling explosives. Each tray was identical. Each meal was identical. Perfectly identical. Malik blinked. Every piece of food, the lumps of rice, the little squares of vegetables, the gray slice of protein, was cut into exactly the same shapes, placed at exactly the same angles, lined up with unnatural precision. He stared. The older inmate whispered, "The food knows if you're new." "What?" Malik asked. But the man didn't explain. Malik picked up the tray cautiously. It was heavy, heavier than it looked. And warm in a way food shouldn't be warm. Then he noticed something terrifying, the tray was pulsing. Very faintly. But pulsing. Like it had a heartbeat. Malik dropped it immediately. It hit the floor silently. Not a single sound. The other inmates froze. One whispered, "Don't do that again. It remembers." Before Malik could ask what that meant, the older man gestured toward the ceiling. Malik looked up. Shadows were shifting across the lights. But nothing was moving. Malik didn't want to eat. Nobody wanted to eat. But everyone did. The older inmate nodded at him. "Eat." Slowly. Do not stop halfway. And do not leave anything on the tray. Malik shook his head. I'm not hungry. It doesn't matter, another inmate said. It wants you to finish. If you don't finish, he didn't finish the sentence. Malik forced himself to pick up the spoon. The food tasted normal. Surprisingly normal. But when he swallowed the first bite, the room felt colder. The lights flickered once. The shadows shifted again. The older inmate muttered, "It's watching." Malik stopped eating. His hands shook. What is watching? The inmates all pointed at the walls. That, the older man whispered. This place. This block. This prison. It feeds. And we are the delivery. Malik slammed his spoon down. That doesn't make any sense. Food is just food. They all stared at him with the same look, the look of men who had seen something they could not fully understand, something their minds couldn't process but their bodies remembered. One inmate leaned close, eyes wide. Food is just food everywhere, except here. Malik took another bite. Then another. As he swallowed, he noticed something terrifying. The other inmates weren't eating normally. They were synchronizing. Every scoop. Every bite. Every swallow. Like a ritual. When Malik slowed down, the others slowed down. When he paused, they all froze mid-bite. When he resumed, so did they. Malik whispered, "What happens if I don't finish?" The older inmate's expression hardened. Something else finishes for you. Malik felt a cold, crawling fear in his stomach. He forced himself to eat the final mouthful. The moment he swallowed, the light steadied. The temperature rose. The shadows stopped moving. The inmates exhaled in unison. The older man said softly, "You made it through the first feeding. Tomorrow, it decides if you stay." Block 7 didn't sleep. Even when the lights dimmed to darkness, Malik could feel the block breathing around him, the faint hum in the walls, the subtle shift of air, the way sound never echoed properly. He lay on his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Something dripped from the pipes. Slowly. Rhythmically. Not water. Thicker. Heavier. He whispered to the older inmate across the cell, "What is this place? What is Block 7? The man didn't answer for a long time. Finally, he said, "Block 7 was not built. It was discovered." Malik turned toward him. Discovered? What does that mean? The man swallowed hard. Before Blackwater was a prison, this block was part of something else. Something ancient. They don't talk about it. But when they built the prison around it, they realized the walls here were not man-made. Malik's blood froze. Then what made them? The man whispered, "This block feeds. Always has." Morning came without sunlight. Block 7 never got sunlight, just the same dim industrial glow that never fully warmed the air. Malik woke to a sound he hadn't heard before. Not footsteps. Not keys. Not voices. A vibration. Deep. Low. Continuous. It came from the walls. The older inmate nodded toward the feeding area. "It knows you're awake." Malik swallowed. "What knows?" The man didn't answer. A guard stepped into the block, rolling in the same black cart from the night before. But this time, he didn't leave the trays on the tables. He placed Malik's tray in front of his cell. And walked away. The tray moved slightly, like it shifted under its own weight. Malik stepped back. "It's heavier today," the older inmate said. "Because it wants more." Malik stared at the tray. The food looked the same, too perfectly arranged, too symmetrical, too deliberate. But there was something new. A small cube, deep red, pulsed softly on the tray. Malik whispered, "What is that?" The older man whispered back, "It's testing you." Malik didn't want to touch the red cube. He didn't want to touch any of it. But as he hesitated, the vibration in the walls grew stronger. "You're making it impatient," the older man said. Malik shook his head. "This can't be real. It's just a tray. Just food." "Then eat," another inmate said. Malik picked up the spoon. The moment he lifted it, the vibration stopped. Instant silence. He stared at the food. It stared back. Not literally. But it felt like it was waiting. The other inmates watched him without blinking. No one lifted their spoons. No one chewed. No one moved. They were waiting for him to start. Malik forced himself to take a bite. The room exhaled. The others began to eat in the exact same rhythm as him, matching his pace. Bite. Swipe. Swallow. Perfect synchronization. Malik's stomach churned as he approached the red cube. He jabbed it lightly with his spoon. It wobbled. And hummed. He flinched. The block hummed back. The older inmate whispered, "Eat the cube." Malik hesitated. "You don't understand," the man hissed. "If you don't eat it, it will." The lights flickered violently. "Eat something else." Malik swallowed the cube whole. It dissolved instantly, leaving a tingle on his tongue. The vibration faded. The lights steadied. And Block 7 went quiet again. After breakfast, the guards collected the trays. When they lifted Malik's tray, he noticed something. It was lighter now. Much lighter. As if something was missing. Something that wasn't just food. The older inmate watched Malik carefully. "You feel it yet?" "Feel what?" Malik asked. "The emptiness." Malik frowned. "My stomach is full." "Not your stomach," the man said softly. "Your will. Your resistance. Every meal takes something." Malik shook his head. "That's impossible." The older man let out a hollow laugh. "Impossible? You're in Block 7. Impossible left a long time ago." That night, Malik heard whispers. Not from the inmates. From the walls. Soft. Repeating. Almost like words. He pressed his ear against the cold surface. At first, nothing. Then, hungry. Malik jumped back. "No. No, that's not," the older inmate nodded. "It talks to some of us. Especially the new ones." Malik's chest tightened. "What does it want from me?" The man stared at him with tired eyes. "What everything in this prison wants." Malik whispered, "What?" The man answered, "To be fed." 3 days in, the guards took Malik and several other inmates to the prison library, a long, narrow room filled with old books, older dust, and a smell that reminded Malik of the Block 7 trays. That metallic warmth. That artificial scent. Malik wandered between the shelves until he found a section marked, Architectural Records. Restricted. He pulled a book from the shelf. It was old and brittle. Inside was a blueprint of Blackwater Penitentiary. Except, Block 7 wasn't on the map. Not even as a storage room. Not as a basement. Not as a forgotten wing. Malik frowned. How is that possible? Something shifted above him. He looked up. Dust poured from the ceiling. A book fell from the top shelf, landing open at his feet. The page showed a drawing older than the prison itself. A circular chamber. Organic walls. Not constructed, grown. Malik stepped back. The ceiling creaked. The lights flickered. The library suddenly felt too small. He whispered to himself, Block 7 wasn't built. It was discovered. Just as the older inmate had said. When Malik returned to Block 7, the older man pulled him aside. "You found something," he said. Malik hesitated. "How did you know?" "Because your face looks like mine did on my third day here." Malik swallowed. "Tell me what Block 7 really is." The older man sighed. "My name is Covey. And I'll tell you only once." He pointed to the walls. These walls weren't here when the prison was built. They were already standing. The government thought it was an old bunker, a leftover war structure. But it wasn't. He paused. It was part of a temple. Not a temple for people. A temple that fed on offerings. Malik felt sick. "Offerings? You mean food?" Covey whispered. "At first." Malik shook his head. "You're telling me this prison is alive?" "No," Covey said. "This block is." That night, Malik couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the blueprint. The way the walls pulsed. The way the trays hummed. And the way Block 7 reacted to him. He whispered to Covey, "Why me? Why is it focused on me?" Covey sighed. "You're new. You're fresh. You're thinking. It likes that. It likes minds." Malik froze. "Minds?" Covey nodded slowly. "Food is just the first step. It doesn't just eat what you swallow. It eats what you fear." Malik backed away. "No. No, I can't stay here." Covey looked at him, pity in his eyes. "You don't get it. Once it chooses you, you don't leave Block 7. The block vibrated softly. Malik felt it. A pulse. A heartbeat. As if the prison itself agreed. Malik didn't want to sleep again. Not after the whispers. Not after the blueprint. Not after Covey told him the walls were part of a temple. He stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. That was his mistake. When the feeding cart came that night, it came earlier than usual. The guard didn't bring the tray inside. Instead, the tray slid across the floor by itself. Malik's heart almost stopped. It glided slowly, silently, stopping perfectly in front of his cell. This time, the food was different. Instead of perfectly arranged squares and cubes, the tray held a single item, a bowl. Inside the bowl was a thick, dark liquid that reflected no light. Malik whispered, "I'm not eating that." Covey stepped closer to the bars of his own cell. "It's not asking." Malik shook his head. "This place isn't alive. This is psychological." Then the bowl vibrated violently. The lights flickered. The walls pulsed. Something inside the bowl rose slightly, like a hand reaching toward the rim. Malik stumbled backward. "No, no, no, no," Covey whispered urgently, "eat it. If you don't, it will take something much worse." Malik stared at the bowl. And the bowl stared back. Malik lifted the bowl with trembling hands. It was warm. Not like soup warm. Body warm. He gagged. Covey whispered, "Do it fast." Malik brought the bowl close. The smell was impossible to describe, earthy, metallic, ancient. Like something buried deep underground for centuries, suddenly awakened. He took one sip. Instantly, the room shifted. The walls expanded and contracted like lungs inhaling and exhaling. The ceiling rippled like water. Shadowy shapes crawled along the corners of the block. Covey shouted, "Don't look at them. Just finish it." Malik forced down another sip. The lights burst into brightness. The shadows vanished. The walls steadied. Malik drank the rest without breathing. The moment he finished, everything stopped. Silence. Stillness. Then, a deep, echoing exhale came from behind the walls. Malik dropped the bowl, gasping. Covey nodded slowly. You fed it. Days passed. Each feeding became stranger. On the fourth night, the food formed shapes. On the fifth, it twitched before Malik touched it. On the sixth, the shadows in the block moved on their own. Covey explained what was happening. You've become its favorite. Malik's voice shook. Why me? Because you resisted, Covey said. Things like this love resistance. It gives them something to break. Malik couldn't breathe. You said it was a temple. A temple to what? Covey looked at the floor. Something the land worshipped before people lived here. Before the language we speak. Before the country existed. Malik whispered, You mean a god? No, Covey said. A hunger. Malik tried not to sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the bowl. The shadows. The rippling walls. But exhaustion took him. He drifted off. And the walls whispered, More. Malik jolted awake. Sweat poured down his face. Covey whispered from his bunk, You heard it, didn't you? Malik nodded. It's not done feeding, Covey said. And it will never be done unless, he stopped speaking suddenly. Malik leaned in. Unless what? Covey whispered, Unless you give it something it hasn't tasted before. Malik frowned. What does that mean? But Covey refused to explain. The next day, the guards took Malik and Covey to the showers, a part of the block rarely used, because water pressure in Block 7 wasn't designed for comfort. While Malik stood under the cold water, he noticed something carved into the tile. There is an exit below. He tapped Covey. What does this mean? Covey looked at it for a long time. I didn't want to tell you, he said quietly. But since the block chose you, you deserve to know. Tell me what? There is a room beneath Block 7, Covey whispered. A chamber. A mouth. Malik stepped back. No. That's impossible. Covey shook his head. I've seen it. What does it look like? Covey's voice trembled for the first time. Like something waiting. When dinner came that night, something was wrong. No trays. No bowls. Just silence. The walls pulsed slowly, like a heartbeat. Covey whispered, It's calling you. Malik shook his head violently. No. I'm not going anywhere. But the floor beneath Malik shifted. Not physically, but perceptibly. Like it wanted him to walk. The guards didn't stop him. They didn't even look at him. He walked down the hallway. Toward the end of Block 7. Toward the old storage room the guards never opened. Covey followed close behind. At the door, Malik felt heat radiating from the floorboards. Covey whispered, Down there. That's where it lives. Malik looked at Covey. You're coming with me. Covey shook his head. No, Malik. I can't. It didn't call me. It called you. Malik reached for the door handle. It felt alive. He pulled it open. Below the storage room was a staircase. Old stone. Uneven. Carved by hand, or claw. Malik descended slowly. The air thickened. The walls glowed faintly, as if alive. Then he reached it. The chamber. Circular. Organic. Breathing. A deep pit sat at the center. Warm air rose from it. Malik stepped closer. The pit exhaled. A voice, deep and ancient, filled the chamber, hungry. Malik fell to his knees. It's been feeding on us, he whispered. The food wasn't for us. Something rose from the pit, a shape without edges, without form, without eyes. But Malik felt it watching him. Covey appeared at the top of the stairs. You understand now. Malik whispered, it doesn't want food. It wants fear. Covey nodded. And you have given it more than anyone else. The chamber shook violently. Covey shouted, Malik, listen. Once it feeds, it sleeps. You can end this. Offer it the fear it wants. Malik backed away. No. I'm not dying for this. Covey shouted, I didn't say die. The chamber pulsed. What then? Malik screamed. Covey looked down at him, eyes filled with sorrow. You must leave your fear here. Give it everything. Let it take that, but nothing else. Malik's mind raced. Let it take the fear? Let the prison eat the thing that had been haunting him? The chamber pulsed again. The shape rose higher. Malik closed his eyes. And he remembered, the walls listening. The trays identical. The whisper in the dark. The bowl that pulsed. The hunger that never ended. He exhaled all of it. Every fear. Every trembling moment. Every thought that kept him awake. He pushed it into the pit. The chamber inhaled, then fell silent. Completely silent. The shape receded into the dark. The walls stopped pulsing. The prison slept. When Malik climbed back up the stairs, he felt lighter. Not physically. Emotionally. His fear was gone. Covey knelt beside him. You did it, he whispered. Guards rushed into Block 7. For the first time since Malik arrived, the lights brightened naturally. The air warmed. The feeding carts didn't come back. Block 7 was quiet. Malik whispered, Are we free? Covey shook his head sadly. No. But we are alive. And for now, that's enough. 2 weeks later, Malik was transferred out of Block 7. Rumor said it was being resealed. But inmates whispered something else. When the guards closed Block 7, they found trays sitting neatly on the tables. Lined up perfectly. Food untouched. Waiting. And late at night, the walls still hum. Just a little. Just enough to remind them, it's only sleeping. Not gone.